Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Well, hello, Mavericks and new viewers all over the world. Oh, Chicken Man, President Chicken, and the ostriches. Tariffs. On, then off, then on, then canceled by the court, now uncanceled by another court, and Chicken Man is enraged. And his press secretary also enraged. And we're going to go to the phones so you guys can join the conversation tonight. And I know that we're going to be talking about those ostriches out in British Columbia. It's the issue that just won't go away. But I think I have a solution to the whole dilemma. I've been thinking about it, and I'll share that with you as part of the open line call-in show tonight here on the Maverick News Channel. So get your dialing fingers ready. It's time to weigh in on the conversation here on the Maverick News Channel. All right, here we go. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. All right, so I'm going to put the number up on the screen here so you guys can join the conversation. I'll just start in on the news of the day, the top stories. You guys can call in if you would like to. Here's the number. 1-647-734-4220. When prompted, hit that PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. And if we get a caller or two tonight, that would be great. It would be even better if we had some new callers join us tonight. So I'll give preference to that. And let's kick things off with the White House briefing with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who expressed extreme displeasure with what the courts have been doing with regard to these tariffs, because we've seen that, well, the tariffs were canceled by court decision and deemed to be improper, an overreach, an abuse of the president's powers. But the president doesn't see it that way, either does his press secretary, and now they have been. Now, this was earlier today. Since this press conference, I'm going to run it anyway because it's still relevant, but since then, another court has temporarily reinstated the tariffs.
Wow, a packed room today.
Yes, ma'am.
Last night, the Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach. Using his full and proper legal authority, President Trump imposed universal tariffs and reciprocal tariffs on Liberation Day to address the extraordinary threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. The United States has run a trade deficit of goods every year since 1975. In 2024, our trade deficit in goods exceeded $1 trillion. Everybody agrees this is unacceptable. President Trump is delivering on his promise to fix this problem, and he has taken a long overdue and much needed bold stance for American workers after decades of our manufacturing base being hollowed out. The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense. President Trump correctly believes that America cannot function safely long-term if we are unable to scale advanced domestic manufacturing capacity, have our own secure critical supply chains, and our defense industrial base is dependent on foreign adversaries. Three judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him. These judges failed to acknowledge that the President of the United States has core foreign affairs powers and authority given to him by Congress to protect the United States economy and national security. Congress had created the National Emergency Act to provide the congressional framework to strike down improper IEEPA use, and any questions over whether President Trump improperly imposed these IEEPA tariffs were already adjudicated in Congress following Liberation Day. Congress firmly rejected an effort led by Senator Rand Paul and Democrats to terminate the president's reciprocal tariffs. The courts should have no role here. There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process. America cannot function if President Trump, or any other president for that matter, has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded by activist judges. President Trump is in the process of rebalancing America's trading agreements with the entire world, bringing tens of billions of dollars in tariff revenues to our country, and finally ending the United States of America from being ripped off. These judges are threatening to undermine the credibility of the United States on the world stage. The administration has already filed an emergency motion for a stay pending appeal and an immediate administrative stay to strike down this egregious decision. But ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution and our country. With Congress returning next week, it's critical that Senate Republicans maintain the momentum and quickly pass the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill will truly make America safe and prosperous. The One Big Beautiful Bill includes the largest border security investment ever. That's why the law enforcement groups are lining up to encourage its swift passage. The National Fraternal Order of Police, the largest police union in the country, just endorsed key provisions of the bill. The FOP president announced their strong support, saying the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is more than legislation. It is a promise kept to the public safety officers across the country and a bold step toward an economy that respects, rewards, and uplifts the people who keep it safe. And the National Border Patrol Council, which represents nearly 20,000 Border Patrol agents, hailed the legislation as well. The group's president said this legislation provides a once-in-a-generation investment in the border security of our great country and will make America safer. The One Big Beautiful Bill will guarantee we can permanently have the safest, strongest, and most secure immigration system in American history. I also want to take the opportunity to debunk some false claims that have been circulating in the press about this bill. The blatantly wrong claim that the One Big Beautiful Bill increases the deficit is based on the Congressional Budget Office and other scorekeepers who use shoddy assumptions and have historically been terrible at forecasting across Democrat and Republican administrations alike. For example, just before Congress enacted the original Trump tax cuts at the end of 2017, the same CBO projected that growth would average a mere 1.9% over the next 10 years. However, by 2019, actual growth had surged to 3.4% once the Trump tax cuts went into effect, exceeding the CBO forecast by nearly 2 full percentage points. The CBO's latest forecast makes the same anemic growth assumptions as they did in 2017, missing the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The CBO assumes long-term GDP growth of an anemic 1.8%, and that is absurd. The American economy is going to boom like never before after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed. The largest middle-class tax cut in history, massive deregulation, and the most aggressive domestic energy exploration ever will fuel small businesses, further boost private investment, increase workers' wages, and supercharge economic growth. The Council of Economic Advisors has factored in the effects of all these pro-growth policies and estimated in their own analysis that growth will average 3% in the long run after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed, which is nearly double the ridiculous CBO projection. This higher growth would result in $4.1 trillion in additional revenue over the next 10 years. Between the common sense spending reforms contained in the One Big Beautiful Bill and the robust economic growth that will be generated as a result of it, there will be no increase to the deficit. The same analysis from the CEA shows just how this historic package will unleash prosperity and ignite a blue-collar boom across America. But if the radical Democrats get their way and the One Big Beautiful Bill does not pass, Americans will face a whopping $4 trillion tax hike. This is unacceptable to President Trump. President Trump will not allow Democrats to massively raise Americans' taxes. Senate Republicans must get this bill passed. Failure is not an option. The American people are counting on Republicans to deliver. In other news, despite all the doom casting from the media, Americans are growing more and more optimistic about the economy under this president. Consumer confidence surged in May with the biggest monthly jump in 4 years, smashing expectations. According to the release from the Consumer Confidence Index, the increase in confidence was broad-based across all age groups, income groups, and political affiliations. Our country is clearly heading in the right direction under President Trump's bold leadership. For the first time in history of Rasmussen polling, a majority of Americans believe the country is on the right track.
I was saying, because I was muted, she was being very assertive there, so I guess it must be true. Hello, who's our first caller tonight?
Well, good evening, Maverick. Rimby John, Western Canada, the great province of Alberta, sir.
Well, welcome back, John from Alberta. Oh my.
Well, Rick, we're missing some callers on the line here, my friend. Where's Dr. Phil McGraw when you need him? Oprah, Gail King, and my premier, Ralph Klein, shoot, shovel, and shut up.
I don't know, John. It's you're the first caller of the night, so you're kicking things off again, actually. So nice to have you here, and thanks for calling in and helping us out tonight. Yeah, so Trump's tariffs off again, on again, and actually they are on again because what we're seeing is an appeals court has ruled that the tariffs need to be or will be temporarily reinstated rather. So this pauses a lower court's decision until at least June 9th. But this again just throws everything into chaos because nobody really knows what's going on. Everything is unstable. Nobody can plan. You can't plan supply chains. You can't plan for your business. You can't plan for your country. How is anybody supposed to put together a budget for a government? How's a business that trades with the United States supposed to plan for the weeks, months, or even especially years ahead if you don't even know what your costs are going to be, if you don't know if you're going to be hit with a 25%, 50%, 150% tariff? No, this is chaotic. It's very difficult.
Well, Rick, he's got this new name, Taco. I'm telling you this morning, and you'll have to look it up again. But his new name is upgraded from the orange orangutan now to a taco. And I think a chicken taco too, Rickster, not a beef.
Yeah, I saw that. And thank you for cluing me in on that. I've been so focused on these other stories. I really haven't paid much attention to that. But yes, that's the new thing, eh? Eh?
He was quite insulted, about it the other day in the Oval Office there, because a reporter kind of shouted it out to him, and he got quite indignant about it. He hadn't heard his new nickname, Taco, and it's a chicken taco.
What does it stand for? Do you know exactly?
Well, I was trying to think this morning. It's about tariffs on, tariffs off, and he always backs down being a chicken.
And he's a chicken. He's Chicken Man. President Chicken, I called him in the thumbnail tonight. Have you seen this? I don't know if you can see the screen of being on the phone, but I came across this. I assume this is, AI. Trump in a chicken costume at the podium and the presidential seal in front of him. This is hilarious. Watch this. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but I don't know if you can see it.
I can see it too.
Okay. I saw this. This shouldn't be a lead story, but tonight it almost is because everything is so wacky and the whole thing has become theater, political theater. We're watching a show.
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? I kick out?
Oh, hang on a second here. I have to get this.
You mean
back
because
on.
I reduced
There it is.
China from 145%?
It's funny. There are a bunch of these out there. So I just thought I'd show that to everybody because you will see them. What do you make of that, John? What's happening with our politics?
Rickster, is he applying for a McDonald's franchise there, bro?
I don't know.
To be an owner there, operator? A chicken outfit?
KFC franchisor, a Popeyes chicken.
Or maybe chicken, McDonald's McNuggets.
He can start his own chain. What would he call it?
Trumpster dumpster.
President's poultry. I don't know. I'll have to give that some thought.
Rickster, it's like a Timex watch. It takes a licking and it keeps on ticking.
Oh, hey, there was the. I don't know if you ever seen this. I've come to note this other program that has become quite popular, Midas Touch. And the host, Ben Mislis, he goes after Trump like every day, right? So this is the other side of the political spectrum. But today I was just skimming through some stuff and I came across this. I'm going to share it with you. This is hilarious. I guess he went all in on this taco thing yesterday. And as a result, I guess he triggered a bunch of MAGA muffins. Hang on here while I get it up on the screen. I hate doing this when we're there it is. Okay. Yeah, I guess he triggered some MAGA muffins. The way he tells this, I'm going to run this little piece from his video because I was howling. I thought it was funny. Some of the people in the chat, I'm sure, won't like this guy, but I'm going to run him because I think, well, it just made me laugh. Watch this.
And can I just tell you for a moment what a snowflake Donald Trump is? You know how everybody's calling Donald Trump a taco now, that Trump always chickens out. And that great CNBC reporter asked him the question in the Oval Office. Well, when the Midas Touch Network did a video on our TikTok account calling Donald Trump a taco, the Trumpers mass reported it for bullying. And we actually got a strike and it got taken down on TikTok because the Trumpers are such utter snowflakes. Talking about the Trumpers being such utter snowflakes, Donald Trump's deputy FBI director, Dan Bongino, was just on Fox in the Morning moments ago and literally was crying. I'm not making this up because he said his job was too hard and he's had to make all of these sacrifices, he claims, working as the deputy FBI director. I'm going to show you this video right now. This is what I mean about Trump and his ilk. They are weak, pathetic, soft individuals. Watch Dan Bongino cry moments ago. Play this clip.
I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, you know, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine. I did this and I'm proud I did it. But if you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Cash is there all day.
Wow.
We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there he gets in at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
He turns on the faucet. What I really want to know is what happens if he takes a leak? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. And it's a pretty rough job, eh, John? They have to go to work and they actually have to stay there for the day.
Oh, Rickster, Secret Service protection. It's pretty rough gig, eh, bro?
He doesn't leave till 7 at night.
Oh my God.
I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. He uses the gym. I work out in my apartment, but I stare at these four walls all day in DC, by myself, divorced from my wife, not divorced, but I mean, separated, divorced. And it's hard. I mean, we love each other and it's hard to be apart.
But you're doing some great work. You straighten out the FBI, you moving buildings. There's a lot of change.
I got one more thing.
And these are the people out there trying to overcompensate and say, look at us. We're so alpha. We're so alpha. These are the weakest individuals imaginable. And they've.
It's just, I thought it was funny. I think that's funny. And I didn't know that was the job of the deputy FBI director, was to just sit there and stare at the four walls and just check in to see if the guy next door is taking a leak. I'm sorry, John. Oh, this isn't news, but it is Thursday. I don't know what that means either.
Well,
but
a leak's not bad. There's what about if he's doing the number 2 and loud about it?
Oh my
That's even worse.
God. Please. Oh God. Okay. Enough. Oh, how did we get there suddenly? Oh my God.
Are you going for a beef taco tonight there, Rickster, or chicken?
Well, everything has to be poultry and birds around here right now. So yeah, chicken all the way.
Yeah, we are kind of chicken these days, aren't we?
Yeah, everything's gone for the birds around here. Yeah. Oh man.
What's the latest as the stomach turns clown show out in BC, British Columbia?
Yeah, so to bring people up to speed, I don't think there's really anything very new today. Strangely, I've been looking. I'll just do another check here, but we've seen with these ostriches this protest to save these biolab birds from the cull. These birds that have been injected.
Pets, Rick.
Yeah.
Rick, they're pets. They're not biolab.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 400
Let's
of
be
them.
technical here, Rick. They're pets.
400 pet ostriches. Who the hell has? There are crazy cat ladies that I've met, but not even a crazy cat lady has 400 cats.
Oh, 398, Rick. Let's be technical.
I'm sorry, 398. I don't know. I've heard of cat ladies with like somewhere in the vicinity of 100. I don't know who's on the line with us.
Hi, Rick. This is Brian Howell.
Hey, Brian, how are you tonight?
All right. Hi, Remy John.
Hey there, Mr. Kingston. How are you?
Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah, we've got some rain and dark clouds. I guess you're getting nice weather out there in the Rockies.
Gorgeous day today, about 28.
Oh.
Yeah, not a lot of. I don't think there's really anything new going on out at the farm. What I do see is they're gearing up for a big weekend this weekend, getting more people out there to the biolab party. I shouldn't be laughing. It's actually very serious, and nobody out there is taking this seriously at all. That I can see, other than they're very serious about, passionate about saving these 398 ostriches that were used for COVID experimentation for over the past 5 years and have been infected with bird flu at least once, maybe twice. We're only getting part of the story from, virtually all other media because they're leaving at least half of all the information that I've been sharing with people out. They're cherry picking their facts to fit a narrative, to tug at people's heartstrings, make people feel sorry for these birds to save them. And the most up-to-date information, which is related to this, is RFK Jr. today has announced, and let me see if I can find this for you. They've announced that they're telling the Canadian government that they should be collaborating and doing more research into bird flu. They just cut $750 million for research that was ongoing with Moderna into developing a vaccine for bird flu. Now, so they've ended their research. And while they're they're trying to save these birds, which this is how crazy it is, okay? They're Kennedy, Dr. Oz, who else was involved? Some guy from Utah, some rich guy. And then this
what about the billionaire Rick from ABC News out of New York?
John Catsimatidis, the $4.3 billion billionaire man who owns WABC and a bunch of grocery stores and a big oil refinery that's connected to Calgary. So all these guys are out there trying to save these birds, which they say are all natural and developing natural whatever, but they've been used for COVID experimentation where they've been injecting the birds with a digitally, synthetically engineered COVID antigen, which is a vaccine, basically, sort of a vaccine, experimental vaccine thing they're injecting these birds with. So they have to save these because they can save humanity, but they just canceled their program in the States. This is just whacked.
Well, why doesn't Canada just allow the FBI come up here and they could do their investigation? We could invite the CIA while we're at it.
Yeah, well, that was the crazy thing from that radio program and the billionaire guy last night, right? Like, this is insane.
Well, Rick, all roads lead back to the CIA, right?
Well, they certainly do lead back to the White House. And that's why overnight I do a lot of thinking while I sleep, which I don't know if you guys do, but I dream about this stuff because I live it. Now, unlike Dan Bongino, I'm not going to cry because I'm working all the time. But I do my best thinking while I'm in bed because I dream a little bit. I wake up in the middle of the night and it's quiet, so I can think things through. And I think I have the solution to the whole problem. And you know what? Here it is.
Well, hang on, Rick.
Yeah.
Brian, Rick, is this not, guys, just straight up foreign interference into a sovereign nation called Canada? Can you imagine if we poked our nose down into the U.S. and tried to do this? We'd be told where to go and where to get out in what, about 19 seconds?
Absolutely. Brian, maybe you want to comment on that. What do you think? What do you think would happen if the Canadian Food Inspection Agency phoned up the FDA or issued a letter and then went public on media in New York City to say we don't like the way the Food and Drug Administration is doing things down there? What do you think would happen?
I think we'd be run out of town by sunset.
Yeah, run out of North America, more likely. Yeah. Oh my.
Well, these ostriches, if they go to Florida, are they subjected to tariffs?
That's exactly where I'm going with all this. So yeah, this is my solution. We saw Dr. Oz enter stage right or whatever, right, into this political theater, inject himself into the debate because, well, he was on that radio program with John Catsimatidis, and he offered to take these birds. That was 2 days ago, right? So here's where I'm at with that. I was sort of joking around last night, and I said, yeah, like, get him out of here. Let's send him to Florida. And I was joking, but I also pointed out that it would be very difficult because of all the, you'd have to deal with the Canadian government, the US government to just get them over the border into the States. Then you have all these federal rules, all these federal agencies, health concerns, like super duper heavy duty testing to make sure that the birds are actually safe because they've been injected and experimented on, and they've been, infected or exposed to, at least anyway, to bird flu. So that's a major concern. And then you have to deal with getting them across from state to state to state to state to state, birds, bio birds that have been gone through all that. I don't even know what level of bureaucracy you're going to run into when you're trying to transport about 30 truckloads worth of bio ostriches from one part of the United States to the other after they get over the border. Then when you get to Florida, you're going to have to deal with state law there in order to get them in. And various state agencies, from Food and Wildlife to fisheries and wildlife, or whatever they call it down in Florida, to the state health agencies. Then you've got the local bureaucracy to deal with, zoning. You have to have licensing for these ranches if you bring ostriches on, because we checked that out earlier this week. Then you're going to have to deal with neighbors, some of whom may be okay with bringing these bio birds in, and others who maybe won't want them there at all, because as we've seen in British Columbia, the people, at least one of the neighbors there, is very upset with what's been going on at that farm. Not happy at all, counter protesting actually. So there's real friction there. But then it dawned on me. I'm serious. Give them to Dr. Oz. That's the whole solution to the whole problem. I think we should deport the ostriches and send them to Florida immediately. And there's one guy, one man who can make all of this happen. And RFK Jr., Dr. Oz, and John Catsimatidis, who's a big donor to the Republican Party and MAGA, these guys can make it happen by applying pressure on the one guy who can make this happen instantly: President Trump. I'm serious. Trump can make this happen with the stroke of a pen. With a single executive order, he can cut through all that red tape. He can issue an executive order and declare this to be a national security or national emergency, because the people who are advocating for saving these birds say that this is so important, and these particular ostriches are so unique, and that their antibodies are so unique that they can save humanity. And so if they are that important, if they are that valuable, then yes, we should send them to Florida. And President Trump can therefore justify an executive order declaring this to be a national security, a national emergency even, because these birds are so important that he could justify that. Cutting through every level of government, he has the power. He really does. He could make that happen. The only stumbling block would be the Canadian government, but not the province, because David Eby, the premier there, has already said that he would like more flexibility from the CFIA and the federal government to look at individual cases and be flexible. So shipping them across the province to get them out of the country, not a problem at the provincial level. I'm sure he can facilitate that. So all we need now is an exemption of some kind, some sort of an emergency declaration from the federal government in Canada saying, yes, these birds are super important. No other birds in the world like them. Very unique. They can save humanity because of their unique antibodies. So we're going to release them to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Oz and send them down to the United States. That's what we should do. And what do you think is going to happen, guys, if the Canadian government says, go ahead, Doc Oz, you can have these birds?
Well, Rick and Brian, if I can voice a little bit here. To be honest with you, Rick, I don't think the ostrich farm people in British Columbia, Canada, I don't think they're interested in the solution. Because
yes.
their scam would be over. Their financial scam, their worldwide media operation with their, what are they up to, 3 or 4 GoFundMe pages? They wouldn't be able to use that 13-year-old little girl for photo ops anymore. I don't know. Am I off base there, guys?
Well, it is interesting, isn't
Well,
it, John?
think of the ostrich at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, they can all go
Posing for
down
a
and hang
picture
out
beside Trump and his golf club.
Yeah, they could just send them to Mar-a-Lago, but no, I'm quite serious about this. It's also very interesting, and John, you hit the nail on the head, I think, in a way, because we saw yesterday that the owners of the farm declined Dr. Oz's offer, and this rich guy in Utah who has also offered to take them. Now, here's the thing. I thought that saving the birds was of the utmost importance. That was the focus, right? Save these birds because they are that important. They're that unique. So here's an opportunity to save the birds. But the farm owners have said, no, we're not going to send them to Dr. Oz. We're not going to release them. Why? Because, they're going to keep on fighting. They've launched another, they filed paperwork for another appeal to try to delay this further. It's being delayed now almost 6 months, the cull that was ordered because these birds were deemed to be infected by the federal government, the CFIA, and a risk. And we had 69 birds die there. But the farm owners are saying, no, Dr. Oz, thanks for the offer, but we're going to keep these birds, not interested in sending them to the United States, to your ranch. Where if I were to say yes, and if the Canadian government were to say yes, and I'm serious, send them to Dr. Oz. Here's why. It would be better for the birds, because you get Trump to sign that executive order. It's free. It's a free shot all the way down to Florida. Once there, Dr. Oz, because he's now part of the Trump administration, that he has the space, 900 acres. Trump can just, with the stroke of his pen, say, yes, these birds can stay here. So no red tape, cuts right through it. Once there, now you can actually set up a proper biosecure research facility where the research can continue on these lab animals. You can build a building that's biosecure. He'll have the funding. In fact, they just cut $750 million for vaccine research. Now they can redirect that funding or other funding into this, so that there's ample money to do proper research from a proper facility that they can construct down there in Florida. They have the resources, much more so than us. And if RFK Jr. really wants to do additional research on these birds and wants to collaborate with the CFIA, as he says in that letter to the federal government agency, this is the perfect opportunity for him to take control of it, control the experimentation, bring in qualified personnel on the U.S. side, bring more resources to bear, and then the CFIA officials and other government agencies could participate and go down there and help. So and the U.S. government Trump could take all the credit for it. They could take credit for saving the birds, for saving the research that apparently has been done. So that, so far they developed a hair cream and a nasal and some lozenges that you take with this thing, and masks to put on with this researcher in Japan. And maybe you can get the Japanese university, that little university with 1,000 students, to participate too. You can make it a 3-way international thing. It can all be done at Dr. Oz's ranch down there. But why? Why has the farm turned this offer down?
Well, Rick, on a side note, if they went ahead and did the Dr. Oz proposal with RFK, there were, and my math is not good, but initially there were 500 birds 69 died, 2 were shot,
Apparently.
and there were 6, apparently, allegedly 6 sold off to that other couple, where maybe the FBI and CIA, Brian and Rick, can come up there and investigate where the other maybe missing 2024 birds are, guys? Because there's what, 2022, 23
well, there were
birds
6
missing
that were
in
sold
action?
to that other farm we know in 2021. So they sold 6 birds to another farm after the research had begun, and they started injecting these birds.
Still leaves you about 20 for 20. Still leaves you about 23, 24 birds missing, right?
Well, I saw a video from Universal Ostrich Farm going back a few years where some of the birds escaped into the woods.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah,
oh, maybe they're in the woods.
2 or 3 of them.
I didn't see that, Brian. I wasn't aware. So they're doing biological research on these animals, and they're escaping from their pen.
And RFK would be the last person I'd ever listened to in regards to healthcare. Wasn't it about a week ago? 2 weeks ago, we went swimming in that creek outside DC. That was a runoff from a sewage pond.
He went swimming?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's on YouTube, Rick.
I didn't see that.
With his kids in a sewage pond, and he dunked under the water and came up and thought it was okay. I think, is that the story, Brian?
Yeah, that's the one.
Why would he do that? To strengthen his immune system by exposing himself to all the fecal matter or whatever's in the water?
I guess that's how he got the brain worm, a couple of years ago.
Oh, man.
But this whole story gets more bizarre. I'm not sure if it was the guy out there called Big Bear.
Oh, yeah, Colin Big Bear.
There was something on his Twitter with all the things they needed.
Mm-hmm.
Cotton candy machine, 4 bouncy castles, 1 water park castle, water guns, tents, tables, firewood, generators, gas barbecues, first aid kit, forks, knives, spoons, razor blades, fridges, freezers. On and on. What next? A caterer and a kitchen staff, a teepee, and the only thing missing is billboard Chris.
Hey, don't even suggest it, Brian. Billboard Chris. Oh my God, he'll be on the first jet out there tonight.
Well, you see, you know, at the Freedom Convoy, you see all of that. That's something that had never really been done in Canada before. Bouncy castles, hot tubs, street hockey. That was the protest, right? So, okay, it works there. And they've tried to do it, but since then they keep trying to duplicate the convoy, to do it again. But, now you've really just got this core group of people that have their own agenda. And, the Freedom Convoy was supposed to be about ending the mandates. But since then, now you're getting down into this core group of various different groups, core groups, let's put it that way, who keep trying to do more convoys. And they keep glomming on to issues. This is the issue du jour, the newest thing. And this is the tactics that they're using. So after a while, it just, the veneer has come off. You can see it for what it is now, right? This is not a party. It's a protest. And the bouncy castles have been weaponized. Peace and love has been weaponized as part of this protest and assault on the government, because it's an anti-government protest. It isn't just about the birds. And that's why I say call the bluff, send them down, go ahead. And I mean it, like right now, send them to Dr. Oz, let him deal with them, because he says he wants them. I don't know. If he wants 398 these ostriches, when we called down, and I didn't intend to politicize this at all, really, with the animal rescue place, which is not far from where Dr. Oz's ranch is. But I mean, he said he wouldn't want them at the animal rescue place because of what's been done to the birds. And he talked about how much maintenance, how much work would be involved in just taking care of the birds, how you have to find a proper veterinary care for them. It's a specialized thing. You need proper licensing. Well, I mean, go ahead, give them to Dr. Oz and see how he copes. What's he going to do with 398 ostriches? Well, if you want to do the research, then the Trump administration has the budget. I mean, they've got the money, no question. It's the United States of America. So if it's really that important, have at it. But after what we've been through, that's a show. I don't believe he really wants the ostriches. I don't think it was a genuine offer. But if it was, do it now, because that would be actually the best thing for the birds. If they went down there and they have the resources, they can bring them to bear. If that's really what they want to do. But is that really what was going on there when they started talking about that? Like, do you really think that's it? So there you go, Canadian government, CFIA, just sign the paperwork, be flexible, let them go. If RFK Jr. thinks that those birds really are worthy of additional study, let him have them. Send them down to Florida.
But Rick, we're back again to the ostrich farm in BC. They've had worldwide now free media attention to this. They've got, what is it, 3 or 4 GoFundMe projects now, including that 13-year-old girl for the photo ops, which I think is very abusive. I don't think this ostrich farm is legit. I think it's a scam game, a clown show. And the sooner, I'm concerned about my Canadian food system that's under
I have to be
attack.
clear here that, I'm not saying they've done anything illegal. We're not saying that here. John's speaking in very general terms here tonight.
Allegedly.
So like, you can have your opinion on how legit something is. Now, have they done anything illegal? That's another discussion. But I hear what you're saying, John. And what has really come of the research they've done over the past 5 years? They were developing masks that have not really been proven to be effective. They claim through some of these studies they've done that the studies have not really been confirmed about how effective those masks infused with ostrich antibodies have really been. Lozenges with antibodies in them. And if you go back, they were putting these ostrich antibodies into a lot of different things. They had a line of pet products as well that are supposed to ward off fleas and ticks for your dog. So, it seems to be a cure-all, right? I just don't know, man. Send them to Dr. Oz. And then see where it goes from there. Let them deal with it. And if they want to take the risk, if they're convinced that these birds are really safe, then let them have them if they're that valuable. In fact, more than that, Brian, I would say if they're really that valuable, we should use them as a bargaining chip in our negotiations with Trump on the tariffs. Like, you can have them, but because they're that valuable, we'll have to charge you. These birds are valuable, so how much do we get for them? Would you pay? Dr. Oz, how much you want? How much you want to pay for them? How much you willing? What do you think we should charge the Trump administration for these birds? And then the farm can get all the compensation. CFIA doesn't have to pay the $3,000 in compensation for each bird. It'll come directly from the White House. So bam, they get compensated. They say they're worth $7,500 minimum each, so they can probably get that and more.
Yeah. But they're so slapdash with their research at the farm. And just that's what gets me. When scientists these days work with a deadly virus like Ebola, they work in really special labs. They, even before they go in, they remove all their clothing and anything that touches their skin, rings, contact lenses, necklaces, and they change into really sterile scrub suits, Then they walk into a room that is under a negative type air pressure. Air cannot flow out of the room, only in. Then they are bathed in a blue ultraviolet light, which kills any virus that they might bring in. After that, they tug on latex gloves and tape the gloves to their sleeves and their socks to their pants. They're really sealed in. Finally, they put on pressurized space suits and attach the suits to air hoses. It's a system so complex that really elaborate that only a few labs in the world are set up for that kind of research. And that's what scientists do when they study Ebola.
Well,
if they don't do that, it's you might have another 1918. You don't do that in an open air farm with ostriches running around, and a couple of them have escaped.
And everything coming from the protesters out there is completely inconsistent with everything that we've seen them protesting against since the pandemic. Now they're out there.
I know they're probably getting hungry out there, and maybe that's where the ostrich went. Not to make light of it, but the subject is so serious that you almost have to, have a just bring some levity to something that's so serious. And
it is.
I'd like to recommend a movie to know how difficult it is to make a vaccine, and it's on YouTube. Canadian movie, from about 20 or maybe 30 years ago, called Glory Enough for All. It's the movie about Dr. Fred Banting and how he invented insulin in the early 1920s.
Oh, yeah.
And that was over 100 years ago with prehistoric lab work, and they're filtering serums through cheesecloth and water, paper, and it's difficult. And I don't know, maybe these people at the ostrich farm need to watch a movie like that, and just, we can't do it. They're trying to create a vaccine for something, play around with infectious disease that could unleash something even more toxic.
But you do see the point that I've made here, right? If saving the birds is the main objective, well, there was your opportunity. And then the farm said no. Why? Why not say yes? Send them. That's because they're that important, right? They can save humanity. That's what we've been told. So why say no? Why risk losing your court battle and having the birds culled? Because that could happen at any moment. The CFIA won the first round in court, and they have clearance right now. They could go in and cull them right now. So why take the chance if the birds are truly that important? Save them and save humanity. But no, they said no. Thank you, but no. So now the birds still sit there in jeopardy. They could be culled. Even if,
do they still get their 1.2 million?
There's the question, right? But I would say, let's just give it to them. Lobby for that too. Get them compensated somehow. Like I say, you'd have to get clearance, right? You'd have to get over all these logistical and regulatory obstacles, but one man can make it happen. And these guys have a direct line to the White House, and that's Donald J. Trump. A stroke of a Sharpie, and it's done. When I was talking last night, I hadn't really considered that, but they don't live in a true democracy down there. They live in a republic. And the power is really concentrated in the White House. And so if he declares something to be an issue of national security, which clearly this is because it affects a major portion of the U.S. economy, public health, and if these birds are the answer, as we've been told, they have the cure, we're told, to bird flu. This can save humanity. They're that important. So why are they saying no, thank you? No, we're going to keep the birds here. And the battle continues. Why? And why has RFK Jr. stopped talking about it? Why has Dr. Oz not come back around and said, well, wait a minute, reconsider. I really want them. It's that important. Why hasn't the Trump administration said, yes, it's that important? We say we want to collaborate, on research with you. Let's get to work. Let's bring the birds to the U.S. Let's do it, Dr. Oz. And he's part of the Trump administration now. He's part of the healthcare system. Indirectly, in his department, he's dealing with Medicare and Medicaid. He oversees those programs now. But RFK Jr. at HHS, he's directly involved in Health and Human Services. This is right up his alley. That's why he sent that letter to the CFIA. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, also a signatory to that letter. The two of them need to circle back on this, and we need to get them back on that radio program or bring them on here. Why not? Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe saving the birds isn't the paramount concern after all. Because if they lose, if they don't get this application for a stay and then another appeal on this, if they lose, and they probably will, because even before they filed the paperwork, I looked at what would have to happen and what the legal threshold is for it now that their first attempt was stymied and failed after 6 months. It's highly unlikely that they will be successful because the federal government, the CFIA, does have the authority to do whatever they're going to do. Now, the Ag Minister in Canada yesterday said, when questioned in the halls of the House of Commons, he said it may not necessarily happen because they are in process with this, and they are listening to the U.S. government, even though we're told on talk radio out of the States that the federal government isn't interested. They're not listening. They're not paying any attention. They're going to kill these birds for no reason. Well, there are reasons. They are listening. And we're told that, by these media types that, what's the rush was the phrase yesterday from WABC Radio and John Catsimatidis. What's the rush? What's the rush? No, it's been delayed 6 months. The farm owners have been given due process. And the Ag Minister even yesterday said they're going through process. They're giving this all due process. And then some. They've been patient and tolerant. And it does extend the level of risk. If those birds are infected, and even if they aren't, we don't know. And I understand, because we talked about this yesterday, there are hazards involved in testing 400 or 398 ostriches, not the least of which is that you have to catch them and corral them. And if you're worried about making sure that these birds are treated humanely, as the guy from the animal rescue place said, I didn't prompt him or anything with this. He just came out with it. He said, when you have to do that kind of thing, you have to dart them. That means you have to shoot them with a tranquilizer gun quite often to get close enough to them to allow you to conduct these tests.
Yeah, I don't think they're just going to let you go up to them with the needle and jab them in the side.
Yeah, no, you have to sedate them. Hey, you know what? I'll tell you right now. I had to take my dog to the vet today. All right, and he's just he is so strong, so energetic, and still so young that he gets so hyper that I had to sedate him before I took him to the vet today. So the vet gave us some sedatives to calm him down so that he would be calm enough to get his vaccinations, which I'm glad he got because I don't want him to get rabies or distemper. All right. So yeah, I do that because it's a real thing. And I've seen dogs with rabies and it's not pretty. It's a real thing. So yeah, he gets his shots. But even that, it's like, that's a pill, but to have to do that 398 times and probably shoot them with tranquilizer gun guys, do you I don't think people would want to see that happen. But maybe people don't care. They're lab animals. Maybe people don't care. I care. I don't want those birds to suffer. Thoughts? Are you guys still there? Maybe we lost our callers. Are you guys still on the line with me tonight? Let's take a little break. I think maybe we lost John and Brian. If you want to call in tonight, it's 1-647-734-4220. 1-647-734-4220. I'll take a little break. Maybe the internet cut out again tonight. We've had some problems with intermittent internet here again. It seems to be a problem in this part of our community. Yeah, it looks like we lost at least one of them. Is anybody there? No, I think we lost our callers. Strange. Okay, we'll be right back. Stay with me.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We had a bit of a glitch there. We have callers coming back online, but while we try to get Brian back, if he is coming back, I'll run the phone number again so other people can call in tonight too, if you would like to. Here's the number to dial. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Okay. Are you still there, John?
I'm here, Randy John.
Okay. Yeah, I guess Brian is got sidelined there. If anybody else would like to call in tonight, it's 1-647-734-4220. 1-647-734-4220. So anyway, I think I've made my point on giving the birds to Dr. Oz or this other billionaire guy from Utah.
You know what really concerns me, Rick, as a Canadian is thank God for you. You seem to be about the only news media outlet that's really taken an honest, ethical, truthful, investigative look, like Peter Falk of Colombo, into this entire ostrich farm in British Columbia. And I find that it's alarming, very, very alarming to me that all these other podcasters seem to have just taken the status quo without doing, any sort of real true research, investigative stuff. And I mean, the stuff you uncovered, am I right or wrong? It's all out there in the public domain, right?
If you go looking, you can find all of this. But I mean, some of it I had to go sort of dig up. And, you know, all I've done is I've just tried to speak to as many people on all sides of the issue as I can. So including the farm owners. And I did do the interview with Karen Esperson out at Universal Ostrich Farm in Edgewood, British Columbia. I had her on the program and she was gracious. She did the interview, and the information she gave me then provided information, which I then, which piqued my interest into some different issues and areas. So I followed up on it and I did additional research. That's how I figured out, kind of in a more thorough way, what has really been going on out there. And so you start to put all the information together and you get a clearer picture. But if you just cherry pick information, if you're only out there to spin up a narrative, to be on a side of a story or a political movement, then you're not getting the whole story. And if you're not getting the whole story, you're not really getting truth. Did I lose you?
Well,
again?
and
No, you're still there.
No, I'm here. When we got Ungrateful Bastard talking about 50,000 young men and women lost to fentanyl epidemic. Well, yeah, that is an important story too. But I'm just, as a layperson, Rick, farm guy, I'm just really concerned about our Canadian food system under attack. I mean, we look at our movie star Gene Hackman's wife, who had a sudden death with the rat and mouse virus, and I don't know much about viruses. This stuff is pretty darn deadly, is it not?
Well, viruses can be deadly. That's what I said yesterday. You know, you have to be careful about what people lead you to believe, because sometimes things that sometimes what you don't know, or if what you believe is not actually real, then the thing that you believe can end up killing you, maybe killing all of us. So somehow, guys, I think this is also an attempt to reshape people's reality. This is a challenge to science. And if people want to do that, they can certainly do that. But at some point, we have to get back to what's real. And the people who are controlling the narrative, the people who are controlling the institutions, are controlling our reality, because they then, when you get elected and you assume power and run a country, if you run the institutions like the National Institute of Health, then what you say is taken very seriously, because now you become the authoritative voice. So if the information you're sharing is not factual, if it's not real, then you can kill people. Who just joined us on the line?
It's Brian again.
And I think somebody else joined too. Who's there?
Norfa?
Sorry, who is it?
Norfa?
Norfa. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Norfa. Since Brian was on earlier, we'll let you go first, I guess.
Okay. Well, I don't know if there's really anything else to be said about the ostriches at this point, except for that it's just madness gone crazy, out of control.
Mm-hmm.
But on another note, I just had I read a post today. You know how Ontario, all the commercial vehicles are governed at 105. You can't go any higher than that.
Yeah.
Well, Ontario is the only province that has that. And I just read today, as of July 1st, 2025, it's going to be across Canada. All trucks in every province will be governed, which I'm tickled pink about, because just last night we stayed south of London. We come across the border yesterday and unloaded in Toronto today, but we stayed just south of London and at the Tetra Pass, and we were just getting ready to shut it down for the night. And we sat and we were just looking at the trucks coming in and out of the parking lot. And Rick, it was like I was sitting at a race car, track. It's you will. These trucks were going in and out of there so fast. I'm surprised some of them didn't tip over. It was just ridiculous.
Mm.
So I'm very happy that they're going to be doing that. Like in BC, where we reside, this past week in the Fraser Valley, there's been a truck, or not a truck accident, but commercial truck accident every day this week so far in the Chilliwack area.
Well, that's
So there's
wow.
there's a lot of drivers that are very much against this new policy that will be coming in. And I say, there are certain drivers out there that have caused us to get to this point because people simply will not respect the rules of the road.
Mhm.
And you'd like to think that being a truck driver, that you're professional, which there are very few out here that are, and had people abided by rules and regulations, we wouldn't be in this predicament that's coming up in July. And again, I'm tickled pink about it because it means that I've got a better chance of waking up tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
you have a very, very dangerous job. Heavy loads, making sure everything is secure. Your rig has to be safe. It's
Yes,
slippery roads, inclement weather,
correct.
crazy
And
people driving around you in little econo
that's
cars,
that's exactly it. And and thank you for that acknowledgement. It is appreciated. Most times, just coming from London this morning into Milton, I saw what could have been 6 accidents, and they were all cars cutting off big trucks. And I was 3 of those times. And, it's just, everybody's just got this, everyone's got so much on their plate, I know. But at the same time, I think everybody in this world needs to drop it down a few gears and, think about what we're doing. People are just too much in a rush these days, and everyone's plate is overloaded. I get that.
Yeah.
But when you start putting people in danger around you, that's not okay.
I agree. The danger of being a truck driver was impressed upon me when I was very young. I was only about 7 years old. We were coming just in the city of London, Wellington Road and Southdale intersection. A guy had a load of sod in the spring on the back of a truck. He went through the intersection, had to hit the brakes because somebody cut in front of him, and the load of sod, which wasn't properly secured, shifted forward and crushed him in the cab.
Oh my gosh.
I was there to see that. And at that young age, that sent me a very clear message that you can die at any time. And
Absolutely.
it showed me that these guys driving trucks have a very, very dangerous job. That guy never would have probably even been worried about it, he thinks he's just going to deliver this sod to this new subdivision in the area and then go home and have a barbecue with his family that night. But
that's right.
No, because somebody cut in front of him. And there's a
Wow.
lot of weight there, right? And it just crushed the cab.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, one time we were coming from Oliver, BC. We just climbed the mountain out of Oliver, and it's Oliver. No, not Oliver, Osoyoos. And we got to the top, and we were going over what was the name of that bridge? Rock Cut Canyon, I think it was called. We just got to the top, and a lady, it was a native lady, and she was in a blue dually king cab, and she was sitting on my side of the shoulder, but facing the highway, like she wanted to come out and turn right or left. And so I said to my husband, I said, "Hun, just watch." And this was wintertime, of course. And I said, "Just watch this lady." I said, "I don't know if she wants to turn out. She hasn't got her signal lights on." Well, as it turned out, long story short, it was her second or third time at a suicide attempt. So as we were going by, I looked out my window because I was very hesitant on what she was doing. And sure enough, all I could see was her tires spinning as fast as they could go. And she hit right into my door. And then she bounced back into the ditch. that was the amount of force and speed in that short a time, hit the rock cut, came back, hit the diesel tank behind my seat, and then the front wheel of the truck went up on the concrete barrier on the bridge, and it was a 300-foot drop. And so once everything, like, it just happened so fast, and everything was like, everything just stood still in dead silence for a brief moment. And my husband looked at me and he said, "Are you okay?" I said, like, all I knew was that I was looking over my side of the truck, passenger side was sitting up on this concrete curb on the bridge. And I said, "Give me the phone. I have to call Mom and say goodbye." And that was back in early 2000. And yeah, that was one of the scariest situations I've ever been in. That was the worst. Yeah.
God was with you, Norpa. God was with you.
100%. 100%. And we've crossed that bridge many a time now. And I look and I get just chills, and then I just look away and keep on rolling. But yeah, that was a scariest time for me.
Wow. Is there why I guess obviously some of these drivers are upset about the 105 kilometer per hour limit being set on the governors of the vehicles because time is money. But safety must be paramount, and so opinions must be split on it. Is there any other issue or reasoning behind either position on that?
Just to bring more safety to transportation. And of course, what's her name? Chrystia Freeland, she's now our transport. So a lot of guys were saying, "Oh yeah, we're paying for the price of what happened at the convoy," and they're bringing that up. And that, I mean, that's a very minute possibility in my opinion, but it's just due to all of the wrecks that happen with the big transports in Northern Ontario. And it's not just in winter time. This is happening on sunny days, in the open prairies. I mean, it's just really out of control. And they also stated that it has to do with being on electronics while you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that. A lot goes on. I had a lady yesterday come up beside us merging onto the interstate in Michigan, and she was on her phone texting away, merging in front of us. And I thought to myself, my dear girl, if we blew a tire, you haven't got a hope in heck of survival. You know, there's just no common sense. There's no responsibility. There's no accountability for their actions. It's just like, it just seems that people's got this attitude, this mindset. Me, I got to get to work. I got to get this meeting. I got to get my kid at 4. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, you know what? We all have things today to do. And when you start putting that in front of safety, I feel that's what's getting us clamped down. And my attitude is, so be it, because we have created this mess ourselves, generally speaking. And so now some drivers look at it as being punished.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I look at it as being possibly allowed to live another day, you know? So there's that, right?
Yeah. And the people putting pressure on you as drivers will just have to live with it. And
That's exactly.
Yeah, they'll become acclimatized to the new reality.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you know, some drivers, they'll go by us and look at us like we've got 3 heads, because I mean, we're doing the speed limit, but we're not speeding. And they look at us like, you know, get moving or get out of the way. And I'm like, buddy, that's what the left lane is for. If you want to go that bad, you go right ahead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
exactly. So, but I just thought I'd share that with you because it just kind of got us off the bird brain fever.
Yes, I know. I honestly, I'm tired of talking about those darn birds.
Yeah, you know, I saw a post actually today that some people were saying that they went on to the site, what is it, saveourostriches.com.
Yeah.
Well, I had read that that's no longer available, that it's been removed, and that they have now, Katie had put on, scan the QR code if you want any information regarding the ostrich farm. But you have to scan this QR code. That's your only way of getting information about the farm.
Why?
I just read that like 2 hours ago.
Okay. Now I'm going to I just went to the website. It is there. I'm seeing it.
It is there.
Yeah. I'm going to go to, maybe it's just the donations. You know what's interesting to me though?
What?
If you go to that, on the website itself, they stopped posting the total dollars that have been donated about a month ago. And at that point, they'd raised $128,992.76. And they've stopped updating it. And they stopped, I believe I think it's at least a month ago. Let me see what happens now. If you go to, you can donate there, but it does, you donate, but they haven't updated that amount. So we don't even know how much they've collected at this point.
Wow.
And last count for me, between all the websites that they've set up, because they're at least 3, they were up to well over a quarter. Well, I shouldn't say over, approximately $250,000 that they've raised for these birds.
Wow.
And then if you
They just opened up a new Facebook page.
Did they a new one? Yeah.
Yeah, just today or yesterday. And then they're also using a lot of their assets, like the Freedom Georges, the Jim Carr bubble guy, as dispensaries of information. And as far as I can see, Jim Carr and his bubble truck, I mean, he can just go cluck off as far as I'm concerned.
I really, at this moment, wish that ostriches could talk, because that's going to be the only time we ever hear the truth about this whole situation. And I really hope that there was no evilness going on. But with everything that is going on out there, I can't see how any of this is making any sense at all. I feel for the ostriches more than anybody else out there. It's supposed to be for the ostriches. And we're talking about, bring all the, our native tribes here, and we're going to heal and all this stuff. Excuse me, that's fine and dandy. That's great. You're coming together and healing. I thought this was for the ostriches and the ostriches only. But like I think Brian had mentioned earlier, they got bouncy castles, the tents, the kitchens. They even had an ad on there yesterday. I think it was posted. They're looking for kitchen volunteers.
Yeah.
How does that have, the bouncy castles, I'm sure, are not for the ostriches. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Dude, cotton candy and all this stuff. And
it's, I'm sorry, but not sorry, because if you really did have 2 ostriches shot, if personally as a parent, well, my kids are grown now, but if I still had little kids, I would not be taking them anywhere near that place. If you've really got gunplay in the middle of the night, if that's true, somebody sneaking onto the farm and shooting birds in the head in the dark, 500 meters or whatever it is, 50 meters from where the people are sleeping, no damn way I would be taking my kids there.
Not a hope in heck. I wouldn't even take my dogs there.
No.
No, absolutely not. And when I saw the other day that young girl that survived the bird flu, what kind of so-called parent brings their child to that has experienced what they're trying to get figured out?
Yeah.
That and I agree with John Rimby 100%. That is child abuse, hands down.
And that poor girl, she could barely speak because it damaged her throat and vocal cords, being sick.
Right.
And They're there at the farm where the bird flu's been present, may still be present, you know. But then, as I said, well, I mean, I don't want to. It just seems to me that what would be the motivation for these people?
Exactly.
And then, but then they, you know, I was watching it, and then they put out the email address where you could donate. And then I thought, I'm starting to get the picture now. So, and as I said, the one thing I've never paid for as a real journalist is I've never once in my life paid for an interview.
Right. I've heard you say that many a time. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Because you don't,
you've never done that yourself, but checkbook journalism has been around for a while, Vic.
Oh yes, yeah. I had in journalism school, I had an opportunity to do that when like my first year of J school, and I went and I talked to the prof, and I said, you know, this I could get this interview, but I have to pay. and he just looked at me, and we had a long discussion about it. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me in journalism school, and I'm glad that I had that experience. And I've never ever paid for an interview.
Wow.
It'd be like paying a witness to testify on a stand in a court case, right? You can't do that.
Well, it happens, you know.
It does.
I think they're moving them all to Rimby this week.
What was that?
Look at the Frost Nixon interviews.
John, my husband Art just said, I think they're moving all the ostriches to Rimby, Alberta this week.
Oh, what do you think of my suggestion that we should just let Dr. Oz have them?
Well, in my opinion, I don't believe, due to the situation, those birds will never see the border. Never.
Right.
They'll never be allowed down there. Not on your life.
Yep. Could you imagine the controversy? Oh, we're shipping all these birds that have been exposed to the bird flu to Florida. Who the heck wants them in your neighborhood? Not me.
No kidding. Like, I personally think that was, I don't know. I think that was, I don't even know what you'd call it, but a show of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Just to keep people on edge, because that's definitely no sense whatsoever.
But hey, that's why I say, have at it then. Let's do it and see what happens. Let's say, okay, if I was the head of the CFIA, or if I was, the head of the Department of Agriculture in Canada, if I was the ag minister yesterday, I'd say, yeah, we've thought it over, and we're going to give them to Dr. Oz. We've got the trucks rolling right now. They're heading for the border. See what happens.
I don't know.
Yeah, the tune would change pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All of a sudden, he'll have his farms have gotten sold. Can't take the ostriches.
And because times are so weird, I just can't get over the irony of Trump and the taco thing and being called a chicken, and then the memes of him dressed up like a chicken while we've got this big ostrich issue going. It was like over the bird flu, and now he's dressed in a chicken costume online. It's like, how weird is this gonna get? Like every day it's some new escalation and weirdness. So it is entertaining.
Lately I'm just following it because it's just so entertaining, actually.
It is. Oh, and then
oh well.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but there you go, guys. Well, we're gonna wrap up early tonight, so I'll get final thoughts from you guys as we close off for tonight. Who wants to go first?
It was like, I will.
Okay.
Just keep our heads out of the sand and drive safe.
That's right. There you go. That's
105.
Oh,
I'm talking to you all, but those are my 2 cents.
All right. And Brian, go ahead. Take us home, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're doing a hell of a good investigative research on this whole ostrich thing, Rick. Keep it up, and maybe another new angle for a future show based on this theme is something about all these podcasters joining up with the ostrich farm and just talking about the party line. It's a way of covering the story from the distorted point of view of the podcasters, other than yourself. You're the only one doing intensive research on this. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you for that. And, I don't really want to go around picking fights with other podcasters. But,
no, but you might have to.
We are up against an information warfare onslaught here. There's no question about it. People are spinning a narrative out there, and that's not truth. So we'll try and get everybody a little closer to the truth again tomorrow with another finger-licking good episode of Maverick News, 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. See you then on the
flip side.
Bye.
Didn't pick this fight, but here it came. Now our own are playing a traitor's game. They sell us out for a tax cut deal. Shake his hand while they rob and steal. They call us blind, they call us weak, but they're the ones on their knees to the thief. Wave our flag while they burn it down, marching to the sound of a tyrant's crown. Patriots, they're bought and sold. Trade our land for American gold. Singing his tune, dancing his way, but they'll cry for Canada when it's too late. Yeah. Trump traitors, selling us out, burning our home for a tax break now. They stand with the wolves, spit on the brave, but they'll beg for Canada when it's in its grave. They talk real tough, but they bow real low, licking his boots while they put on a show. They chant his name, raise their fists up high, while the real ones fight to keep us alive. They don't fight fair, they twist the truth, say they're the future, but they kill the roots. They laugh now, but watch them run when the north wind howls and justice comes. Traitors, selling us out, burning our home for a tax break now. They stand with the wolves, spit on the brave, but they'll beg for Canada when it's in its grave. One day soon, the tide will turn, and traitors pay when the fires burn. No statues raised, no banners flown, just names in dust where the traitors roam. Selling us out, burning our home for a tax break now. They stand with the wolves, spit on the brave, but they'll beg for Canada when it's in its grave. Trump traitors, Trump traitors, Trump traitors, Trump traitors, Trump traitors. Shame.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.